Good morning, passengers, and welcome back to yet another T Martin airline flight. I hope you brought your hazmat suits and your dosimeters, because we're going to Chernobyl. This little plane really has seen it all, huh? On our last flight, narrowly avoided a storm in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, and now we're going to ask it to fly over Chernobyl. This is going to be a good time. So welcome back. We're going to be taking off from runway 18 left here in Boryspil, Ukraine. So Boryspil is a smaller city just outside of Kiev. Kiev's the capital of Ukraine, 7th biggest city in Europe, and Boryspil is like the main airport. It accounts for most of their traffic. It's the biggest airport in Ukraine, and we're going to be taking off here. So going to be about an hour outside of Chernobyl, at least in this little guy. Obviously, he's not going to be very fast. Let's go ahead and bring our landing gear and flaps up. But if we look off to our right, over there is going to be Kiev along the river. We might try to buzz by it. We'll see what happens. Off to our left over here is the little town of Boryspil. But you guys can see we do have some pretty big jets here. You actually can go visit and tour around Chernobyl. So if you ever did do that, you would likely be flying into this airport. Technically, we should not immediately be crossing over into other runways and stuff, but we're just going to take the quickest route we can to head off in our direction. Like I said, we're about an hour out, so it's going to take a while. Now, if I bring up my my VFR map here, we're going to see where we're going. So here's the airport. Kiev should be somewhere over here, I think. I'm going to head in that direction. We're going to see if we see a big city, then that's going to be it. But Chernobyl is going to be up here. We're going to have to follow this waterway, take a left, and go up here, and I believe Chernobyl is going to be right around here. Pripyat's going to be up to the northwest of that, and this is the Pripyat River here. So because we are in a seaplane, might try to set down the Pripyat River. We're going to go see the almighty famous Reactor 4, fly over it, see what kind of interesting stuff we can find out about it. I've got some fun facts lined up, and then we're also going to try to go to the Pripyat amusement park, which is the focus of many horror movies, horror games, COD 4, that sort of thing. So while we're up here, I've got some fun facts that I looked up. Now, honestly, I'm not going to be able to really do this any justice. If you guys haven't seen it, watch the Chernobyl HBO series. It is incredible. It is so good, so well made. I think it was like 5 episodes or something like that. Sorry, I'm ignoring ATC here. I think it was like 5 episodes, maybe an hour each. You know, nothing too crazy. You could binge watch it in a night for sure. But it is just, it's so good. It was so well made. It was fairly accurate as far as I'm concerned. I'm not an expert in the matter by any means, but it was really, really good. And the director from it is actually signed on to make a The Last of Us HBO series, which I'm not sure when they're expecting that to come out, but that's going to be incredible too, and I can't wait to check that out. But yeah, so Chernobyl, I'm not acknowledging you, man. I'm flying to Chernobyl. Chernobyl is the worst nuclear accident in the history of the world. It happened back in April 26th of 1986, and extremely sad disaster, avoidable. Obviously, it was kind of a different time back then. The USSR tried to cover it up. They tried to cut some corners. They you know, thousands of people could have been saved. It was not a good thing. So yeah, this is the Ukraine's largest and wealthiest city. You know, heavy ties to like industry and stuff early on. In more modern days, it's, you know, heavy finance, industries, science, education, stuff like that. I mean, it's a fairly Western city. And like I said, tons of tourism comes through here and stuff. Lots of like old chapels and monasteries and religious points of interest. And honestly, I'm just kind of making this up a little bit as I go. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but we're doing a little fly through to check it out. Have some very interesting shaped buildings. That one looks a little questionable. But yeah, this is cool. I'm trying to get to the Dnieper. Hopefully I said that right. D-N-I-E-P-E-R. Dnieper River that's over here. It's the river that the city is based on, and we can just kind of follow that up, get up into the Pripyat River, and it should be an easy road map for us to be able to follow. It looks like it's right here in front of us. So I'm reading some more about it. This is actually interesting. It's one of the oldest cities in Eastern Europe. At one point, it was captured by the Varangians, aka the Vikings, in the mid-9th century. It was completely destroyed by Mongol invasions in 1240, and it's kind of exchanged hands a lot throughout the course of history. It's you know, kind of been here for a long time. Many of people have come through and conquered it, and it's got very, very deep roots in Slavic history and stuff. So pretty cool. But here we go. We made it to our river. Got some nice riverfront property out here. I don't know if I would want to live here, but it looks like it could be kind of peaceful. We're just going to kind of follow this up like I showed you guys. We're going to cruise on up to the main part of the river here and then go up to the northwest. Now, let's talk about Chernobyl, all right? Before we get there, before we actually have stuff to look at, let's talk about what we've got going on. So again, worst nuclear disaster of all time. It happened during a safety test. A safety test, guys. Like, come on, this was avoidable. We could have done better here. So what they were trying to test is what would happen and how they could react in case of a power outage. So obviously that's a real threat. These giant nuclear reactors and stuff, you've got to keep them cool. They keep them cool with water. So if power goes out and they can't keep water rushing through it, what happens? It heats up. You have explosion go boom. They have some backup generators, but there's about a 1-minute delay in between when a power outage would occur and when those generators would come on. So they were trying to figure out things that they could do and ways that they could keep it cool during that minute before the water started flowing again. And there had been numerous tries at this over the course of like the last 100 years. They could never really figure anything out. And this, I think, was the 4th attempt at testing something like this. And apparently they were supposed to just gradually decrease the power with time. But while they did that, there was like a byproduct of the nuclear fission. Again, I'm way out of my element here. Basically, unexpected stuff went down and the power dropped astronomically. It dropped almost down to shutdown failure rate right away. And this happened during the night shift. What would you expect out of night shift staff? Probably not as qualified. This test was supposed to be going down during the day. I think there was some sort of a delay or they were running through other things or whatever else. It wasn't supposed to happen at night. They did a shift change. There were less prepared employees there, less prepared, like, you know, scientists and whatever else, engineers, I don't even know what to call them, but they didn't really know how to react, and there was like not a lot of talking and conversing between the two shifts that were working. The higher ups were pressuring them to get it done, get it done, get it done. We've got to get it done. I think the government was wanting it to be done or something like that. So they kind of skirted over a bunch of safety protocols. They didn't have the right staff in there. They weren't doing it at the right time. An unexpected event occurred. These underprepared staff weren't sure how to react to it. Just this whole mix of everything went bad. So disaster struck. There was a massive steam explosion that just blew everything wide open. That 4th reactor core just completely exposed it to the world. Massive explosion, massive amounts of radiation thrown out into the atmosphere, you know, pieces of the graphite all over the place. They were finding pieces of graphite like 16 kilometers away. There was radiation fallout as far away as like Western Europe. I think in London they found some radiation from this. So it was just a massive explosion, massive fire that burned for 9 days, and the fire itself released more radiation than the original explosion did. Like, the explosion happened and released a ton, and then the fire just kind of kept slowly burning and releasing more and more and more over the course of the next week and a half. Man, there's still fallout from it today. Think about all these people in these towns, you know, all the radiation that's flowing through the air. I don't think it was really in the air heavy all the way out here. Again, like I said, we're like an hour away, but it definitely saturated the ground. It was in the river flowing down this way and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so let's talk about the loss of life here. Obviously, that's interesting stuff. So a lot of people think it was like absolutely insane, like everybody there died and that sort of thing, and that's actually not true. Over 90% of the workers at the factory and in the immediate area and stuff like that survived and never had any issues or anything like that. The original explosion, like the first blast, killed 2 people. 28 of 134 of the either employees that were there or first responders like firefighters and EMS that came out ended up dying within the first couple of weeks from acute radiation poisoning, acute radiation it's ARS, I think. I forget what the last thing is. Syndrome, acute radiation syndrome. So, man, what an awful way to go. You know, you don't die right away. It happened over the course of weeks or maybe even months. But within the first minute of being exposed in certain areas of the plant, you had already absorbed enough radiation that was a lethal dose. And there's nothing you can do. You can't treat it. It's just going to take its course, and people's hair fell out and all kinds of just gross, nasty stuff. It is a horrible, horrible, painful way to go. And like I said, 28 people had that happen. Another 14 people that were in that immediate group had likely cancer caused by the radiation at some point in the next 10 years. And that's pretty much the immediate effect. Now, there are all kinds of questions about this because it was the Soviet Union, and they didn't really admit to this. They were not honest about what happened. It took some very brave souls out there to end up telling the truth and stuff, and that's some of what you'll see if you guys watch the Chernobyl series. But you know, they weren't honest. I think the first place to report this explosion to the rest of the world was Sweden. They felt it all the way over in Sweden and figured that out. So that's kind of crazy. They estimate that somewhere between 4,000 and 16,000 people died in some way, shape, or another related to this incident. So, you know, absorbing radiation over time, you know, whatever may happen, developing cancer, that kind of thing. That's kind of what they expect. Obviously, it's a really hard thing to estimate. A lot of the surrounding areas were evacuated within the first like 72 hours. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people uprooted from their homes. They still can't go back today. We're going to be checking out Pripyat after we see the reactor and the power plant. Pripyat, you still can't go back. Now, you can visit there, you can tour there, but you can't go back and live there. You know, it's a town of 45,000 people. You know, 50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town. You still can't go back. Now let's talk about cleanup, all right? So cleanup is by far the most dangerous part of it. This is where most of the deaths have come from. This is where it's the most lethal. I mean, the original blast and explosion, everything else was bad, but cleanup and trying to clean up this area that's still just completely saturated with radiation is not easy. So back in 1986, they built a sarcophagus, which is like this giant dome that they put over it, in the hopes that it would kind of sit there and like not let any more radiation out, so they can slowly start, you know, creeping their way in, cleaning up, that sort of thing. Over time, that sarcophagus has started to, you know, dissipate, fall apart a little bit and stuff like that. So a couple years ago in 2017, they came out with the new safe confinement, which is like a sarcophagus for the sarcophagus. So now we have that on there, and supposedly that's doing a good job of protecting it, and they're really starting to kind of get into the cleanup here. Now, their goal to finish the cleanup is in 2065. 2065, dude. It's that far out, and you got to think about it like, think about construction. Think about that road next to your house that's been under construction for like 4 years. At least that's how it is down here in Florida. I doubt they're even going to hit that 2065 goal, but that's the goal they currently have set. They expect it's going to take over 500,000 workers to be able to complete that, and it's going to cost about $68 billion to be able to complete. Even with that being said, even if the cleanup ended up being successful, it's never truly going to return to normal. So many things were affected, and you can't really truly get rid of it. Like Pripyat, they said that it's going to take like 24,000 years for the radiation to reach half the level that it is now. Like, that's how long it takes to dissipate and go away and stuff. So it's sad, man. Like lots of the local wildlife was affected. There's a forest next to it called the Red Forest now. They call it the Red Forest because the radiation, it killed most everything, and then it turned a lot of the other stuff like a red ginger color, which is kind of interesting. A lot of the local wildlife has, you know, major issues now. Even now, 30 years after the disaster, you know, tons of health issues, whether it be shorter lifespans, inability to be able to produce offspring, stuff like that, and, you know, of course, that kind of similar situations with people as well. So it's just, it's really sad. It was kind of a rushed, botched job that definitely could have been avoided, and then had a big cover up, and I don't know, man. It's just, it's sad. So we're going to go check it out. So I thought Kiev looked a little drab when we flew through it, and I just realized that we had it on the lowest graphics settings possible. I'm not sure why I did that. I can't quite run ultra. I've got it on high end, and we usually get 40 to 50 frames per second, something like that. I am working on getting a new computer. I think I'm going to wait until the end of this month or beginning of next month because the new graphics cards are coming out from NVIDIA. But yeah, sorry, Kiev, I didn't really give you a good look there, but we're okay. So we're making it to our objective here. We are right online. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up to show you guys. So again, you go to the north end of this river here. You kind of go up the Pripyat River. This right here, this is the Pripyat River, and then this, I believe, is just kind of like a big runoff area of the water that they use to cool the power plant and stuff. So you guys can see, you know, some of the roads and stuff out there. I mean, this is all just completely irradiated now. There's no way you could kind of, you know, safely step foot in this unless you had the proper protection and gear to be able to detect the amount of radiation that you're walking through and stuff like that. Now, if we bring the map back up, this is all the power plant right here. There are numerous reactors. They actually, I mean, they restarted quite a few of the other reactors after number 4 blew up, and they went on and kept working for like another 10 years or something like that. I don't think they're active anymore, but the number 4 reactor that blew up is right here along the shores of this 90-degree angle here. So that is currently where we're heading. You've got kind of like the little river that goes in here, so we're gonna follow that in. It's gonna take us right to number 4. Which I'm excited to see. I mean, you know, nothing too spectacular out here. This is just highly irradiated water, probably some Loch Ness monsters and stuff down in there. Should we go land in it? I'm gonna go land in it. We here at Team Martin Airlines love to provoke the local wildlife. We're gonna go ahead and drop our flaps all the way, lose as much airspeed as we can. We're gonna set this bird down in the water. If there happens to be any crazy irradiated gators, or I don't even know what you would find out here, some man-eating walking fish or something, we're about to find out. Let's go ahead and set this bird down. Oh, that is so sick, dude. I love being able to set this thing down in the water. I love that. This would be so cool to be able to do in real life. Just be able to put your plane down in the water, go check out anything you want, and at any moment's notice, you can just go ahead and fire back up, put the flaps back up, and retake back off. That is pretty incredible. I mean, hold on, let's not go this fast. We should take the river in. We're gonna boat in to the power plant. I mean, you'd be safe inside the airplane, right? You could actually go do that. I don't think anything bad would happen with this. It's actually interesting. I was looking into. I definitely want to go to the exclusion zone, is what they call it. I definitely want to go there and see it. I want to see like the theme park and stuff like that, and make a vlog about it. I think that'd be really cool. It'd be a long time coming from playing COD 4 back in 2007 to actually going there, seeing the Ferris wheel and stuff like that. But I was reading about it. I think this was back when I first saw the TV show because it got me really interested in it. You can go there and like they'll have guides that'll take you to the safe areas, and like a little bit of radiation isn't really gonna hurt you. They keep you out of the bad stuff. They have pre-planned routes and stuff like that. And you're encouraged. You aren't allowed to eat outside. I guess the radiation in the air, it can like get into your food, and then you don't want to ingest that. And you also aren't supposed to smoke outside. Apparently that can be a really bad thing, mixing fire with the radiation in the air. Try to think of any other things. I think you're not, I think I may have actually just put the landing gear down, but I put it back up. Hopefully we're okay. You aren't like supposed to sit down on like benches and stuff like that. There's all kinds of weird little things. The town of Pripyat, since it's empty now, apart from a few tour groups that go through, it's now filled with like dogs and bears and wild horses and all kinds of stuff like that are now just living in the city in all these giant apartment buildings and stuff that are now abandoned, which is pretty intense. But it looks like we probably want to slow down a little bit. It looks like we might be coming up on one of these channels that lead back into the power plant. We're gonna come in low, and then we're obviously gonna see it from the air as well. Can't really quite make out what's happening here. It looks like that's just a riverbank. We've got a like little hut or house or whatever you want to call it on the end of it. Is that a bridge? Are we going to be able to make it onto that bridge? It's a little bit dangerous. We're coming in a little bit hot. Let's be careful here. Definitely don't want to destroy the bird. It's been a long journey to be able to get here. Ooh. This is looking more and more like a bad idea. You guys think we can pull up out of this? I'm gonna go flaps up. We're probably gonna crash. We're probably gonna crash. Just get as much speed as possible. Full speed, pull up. Oh my gosh, we made it. So are we next to it? Nope, that's another one of the reactors and stuff over there, I believe. I don't think that's anything that we're actually looking for. That's not number 4. It looks like, let me go ahead and get an outside view here. Looks like we've got a bunch of little buildings and stuff like that. I mean, it was a massive plant. Obviously there was a lot going on. It wasn't just this one reactor that exploded. There were numerous reactors around this thing. But if we flip this thing on around, there she is. That big long building along the 90-degree river, that, my friends, is nuclear reactor number 4. Now it looks like they don't have the sarcophagus around it. So this is likely what it looked like maybe before the explosion. We'll go ahead and reduce our throttle a bit and try to do another slower flyby. So it's this part down here is what actually exploded. So this is what would have the sarcophagus over it and then the new thing over top of that. So it looks like it doesn't really have the explosion and the destruction and stuff like that. I mean, we've got some weird stuff going on right here. And it kind of looks like it does look a little bit, you know, construction-y down here. So maybe I mean, that little piece right there. The thing is it's going off of satellite imagery, and a lot of this game, it just kind of like creates buildings based on what it thinks they would look like. So I'm sure that giant sarcophagus thing probably looks pretty weird from a satellite. So I don't think the game quite precisely knows what's going on here. But yeah, this right here, that's the piece that exploded. That's the reactor that went boom and caused all of this wild mayhem for hundreds and thousands of years to come. Flying right over top of it here. You guys seen the video of the helicopter? It's like one of the only videos from the disaster. It's like recovery helicopter that was trying to help with the cleanup and stuff like that, just folded up and fell out of the sky. I was talking about when we were in the lake, we were probably safe in the aircraft. I would imagine it's probably still not safe to fly directly over this thing. I mean, you might be all right if you had the sarcophagus protecting it, but yeah, dude, this is sick. This is really cool. I mean, let's be real. Would it be better to see a giant, you know, hole in the ground, or at least have the sarcophagus like recovery process happening or something like that? Yeah, that would be awesome. I would prefer that. But it's still cool to be able to be here and kind of see a little bits of what the area looks like. Like the actual destruction site is kind of missing a few pieces, but just being able to see all of these buildings and think about all the people who, I mean, some of the employees were asleep in their beds, you know what I mean, when this thing went off. This town of Pripyat over here, which we're going to start heading to, you know, people were just having a normal night, or a normal, I think it was like early on in the morning, like 2 or 3 a.m., something like that, when it exploded. And everybody, I mean, you couldn't know just how bad it was going to be, but everybody knew, like, oh my God, that's the nuclear power plant. And just to think about all of these people, how instantly their lives changed, it's kind of sad to think about. It's crazy. It's cool to see it, though, to feel like we've actually been here. That almost looks like it could be an old airstrip underneath us. So we've got another little settlement out here, and we are heading in to the town of Pripyat. Protected Captain Price underneath the Ferris wheel here. We got to try to find the amusement park. So this is Pripyat here. This was a, you know, like I said, a town of 45 to 50,000 people when it was inhabited. There's a little truck going by down there. You know, shortly after the explosion, 1 to 2 days afterwards, the entire town had been evacuated. Nobody lives here anymore. It's a ghost town, as we've always heard in the COD games, and it does have occasional tourist tours coming through here, which I guess some of these cars that we're seeing could be, but apart from that, it is entirely empty. Now, I'm trying to see, let me pull up our map here. I looked, I believe the amusement park should be off of the left of this thing, We should be kind of flying over it right now. I'm not really seeing any amusement parks. I'm definitely not seeing any Ferris wheels or anything. It's crazy to see all these apartment buildings out here and these trees and stuff growing. Nature is slowly going to start taking this back as people don't go back into it. We have a lot of very interesting buildings and stuff out here. But yeah, the amusement park should be directly west of this thing. So we're going to go ahead and turn. We're going to fly over this way. I see kind of like a big brown area right here. I think this is where it's supposed to be. It's kind of intriguing they would have an amusement park in a city of only 50,000 people. And it's kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. Like it's on the border of Ukraine and Belarus. There's not like a major city around it or anything like that. So for them to have an amusement park is kind of interesting. But it appears that the amusement park did not make it in the game. This is still super cool to see though. You know what I mean? I mean, it's definitely not perfect. I understand they aren't going to be able to have every little minor detail everywhere. I feel like Chernobyl was a pretty big deal. They probably could have, you know, paid a little extra attention to this just to be able to get us a little bit more detail. But it's still just incredible to see this and to just think about all these people's lives, all their families' lives as well, and just how, like, you know, generations of the future are going to be entirely different, all because of a couple of dudes' bad decisions and this giant building over here. So yeah, we traveled to Chernobyl today. I didn't think I was going to be able to say that anytime soon, especially here in the middle of quarantine, but I had a fantastic time. If you guys are feeling ill in any way, just, you know, remember we've got lawyers on retainer, and you did sign away your rights to health before this flight. So if you were exposed to radiation and you come down with ARS symptoms, I'm sorry. Make sure to wrap it up so you don't have any like four-legged babies or anything like that. And we are going to see you guys on our next adventure here at T. Martin Airlines. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are going to see you guys later.